Hello, this is Mark Tucker,
Hi, this is Brett Adler,
and welcome to Two Voice Devs.
Two Voice Devs.
Hey, Brett, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. Really glad to be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so for people that are used to seeing, I think actually me on the other side where Brett is, and Alan where I am. Alan's out this week. He's off traveling and doing some good stuff. And so we thought this would be a great opportunity to have an old friend of mine, Brett, on. I think, Brett, we met years ago when I first started doing some stuff with speech markdown.
Yeah, through the Slack channel area
Yeah,
and Twitter, and we met. I think we met at the Voice 2019, Voice Summit 2019
yeah.
event.
So we've known each other for a little while, and so let's just give people an opportunity to get to know you a little bit. So just kind of talk about a little bit about your background as well as how you got started in voice.
Sure. Again, my name is Brett Adler, and I've been doing software development for over 25 years now. My first computer was a TRS-80 back in the day. Did my first website in 1995 for my college. I made the newspaper and everything because it was such a big deal. And then I spent the early part of my career doing consulting work for big companies, and then the latter part of my career doing, mostly in startups. And I spent 25 years, like I said, doing development. And so I had a lot of repetitive stress. And so part of what eventually led to VoicePT, or the precursor to that, was that I was actually part of the startup. I was CTO, and I was creating the software from scratch twice. And on the second round of it, I was working around the clock. I had bad ergonomics, too many hours, the way it gets with being a software developer. And I was in a lot of pain, and I just thought, well, this is all part of it. And when the software is released, I'll have time to relax and I'll recover, not realizing all the damage I was doing to my body all the way through, and that it wasn't going to just recover. And so I ended up having to take a leave of absence and eventually leave the company because I basically lost functional use of my right arm. I couldn't even do emails at some point. I couldn't even really hold a phone, because not that my hand wasn't useful at all, but I just couldn't do work.
Yeah.
And so it stopped me in my tracks. And so I did a lot of physical therapy before going for surgery, and then ended up eventually giving in and, in a good way, having to get surgery, and it helped. And so when I was I ended up having two surgeries, but after the first one, I was sitting there recovering, and I thought, and I had Amazon Alexa devices all throughout my house, had a smart home. And so and I have a bit of ADHD, so I will lose track of the exercises and what am I doing and the order and the reps. So I started using the devices first as timers, then I used the Alexa blueprints as a proof of concept. And that's really what got me into building this voice skill, VoicePT, so that I could walk myself through my exercises. So it was originally built for myself. And then I ended up having a second surgery on my neck, and made another version of it and kept building it and improving it. And at that point, I realized that not only was it helping me, but I thought it could help other people. And so that's a bit of how it started.
All right. So there's two things I wanted to talk about from what that first point. Thanks for sharing your story there. The first part is, as developers, sometimes we just grind and tend to push through things, and just kind of like, well, I got to get this code done, or I'm on a deadline, and we don't always realize that burning the candle at both ends, or working so hard and not having good break habits really does affect us, and can affect us significantly, as your story says. So do you want to add anything to that on kind of
just that I agree, and that people should be careful, make sure you have good ergonomics, make sure you take breaks. A lot of this stuff is standard now that people hear all the time, but those things you hear really are important, and thinking that you can just put it aside and deal with it later doesn't turn out to be true, as I learned the hard way.
Yeah, because I've been doing this for almost 30 years, so we're kind of on the the older end of the spectrum of developers, and we have new younger developers coming in and starting, or people starting at different parts and of their career, and deciding like, maybe I'm going to retool and become a developer. I like that. And there's lots of advantages to being a developer, but there's also some cautions that you need to be aware of. So that's I think that was an important point to bring out. Second thing, I liked how you just kind of made this evolution of how can we use the first party, or the 1P experience, the built-in stuff from Amazon to help you do like timers or things. And then you started thinking, that's helpful, but what would be more helpful is if I could do this, and what would be a little bit more helpful is if I could do this. And so let's talk a little bit about kind of the iterations that you've made on VoicePT specifically. Did it start out as for smart speakers only? Did you add multimodality to it later?
Well, it's yes and no. It started as I think it was the workout blueprint, or it might be a different type, but it was one of the blueprints, and so it was helpful. But it does have a bit of a multimodal to it, not pictures of the exercises and things, but it allowed me to start that. But then there were limitations on it, right?
Yeah.
Timing and reps and some of the things I really needed to be doing. And so I was kind of hacking it. I was doing the exercise over twice or things, and just, ignoring the breaks because I was trying to, if I had to hold for 2 minutes or something like that, there just weren't even the timing. And so that's actually when I met Heidi Culbertson, and she was the one that suggested I look at VoiceFlow, because I was literally sitting there my arm in a sling, my other arm using the phone, discovering the voice first community. At that point, I was just doing research at first. I knew, there was the Amazon Alexa ability to build skills, but I didn't realize there was a whole community behind it.
Right.
So that's when I started, meeting people. I think that's around the same time you and I connected. And I talked to Heidi, and she was great. And she was the one that suggested I try out VoiceFlow. This is back when she was doing her own Ask Marty business. And so I was able to build something a lot quicker than I would have, partly for learning curve, and partly because, again, I'm a programmer, but I'm in a sling and I can only do so much coding while I'm trying to recover, or I will just hurt myself again, right? And so that really helped me build it out. And the first version was all hard coded in VoiceFlow. Then I had an Airtable backend, so I could enter exercises and make it more flexible. And now we've built a whole web Ruby on Rails backend so that we can manage the exercise programs and make it really dynamic. And so there's not all that hard-coded exercises in there. And that's where we started to add in more of the imagery and multimodal side of it, and displaying the picture of the exercise and reading out the exercise and the text as well.
Right. So that's get, a good discussion here. And one, shout out to Heidi, awesome person, just a great resource.
Absolutely.
But also just using like blueprints was like, okay, well, let's get something, let's go from 0 to something. And that first step in your case was a blueprint. And I think that could be a valid path as you're like working on an idea and you're just going to want to test some things out. And then you said the next thing you moved to was VoiceFlow. Now VoiceFlow is a no-code tool. So, oh no, we're developers. Can we use no-code tools as a developer? Yeah, we can. It still has logic, and it still it helps iterate through and good for prototyping, and they've made lots of advancements in VoiceFlow as well, that there are more and more features to turn it into what to me seemed to be primarily initially a prototyping tool into something that's more of a deployment platform, and they've done a really good job with that.
Yeah, and just to clarify there, you can make it no code, and by default it is, but you can add code. So you can have low code, no code, low code.
Yep.
So I was able to add some JavaScript in, simple JavaScript, and able to do a little more logic there. So that's how I was able to do some of the things that I may not have been able to do just through the, what they provide. So it does give developers that a little bit of flexibility to do some code if they're not completely locked in. So that's what I liked about it, is I could write code where I needed to, and I could avoid code where I didn't have to.
Yeah, it just kind of sped up, and you got to lay out what the whole flow was with iterations and stuff, and you can kind of visually see how things are working, plus work with your language model and your text to speech all kind of in the tool. And then there's blocks that you would actually drop on. That would be like coding blocks where you could put JavaScript, right?
Yeah.
Very good. Very nice. So, how has that been overall? You happy with how that's worked for your project?
I have. I mean, it's been a great tool. There may come a day where we have to, go beyond it. So far, we haven't hit that. So, people, like I said, it does quite a lot. And so it's been a great tool. And I've been really happy with it.
So as a developer, with decades of experiences, was this kind of your first bigger project with a no code / low code tool?
No, I had actually done one years ago for when I was working for Ernst & Young consulting side, which is now Capgemini, and we were doing a project for John Hancock Life Insurance, a data warehouse. And so there was a tool called Hyperion. I don't know if it's still around or not, but back in the day, and it was actually for extraction, transformation, and loading. So I was on the team that helped build a lot of that logic. So I'd actually done a lot of that low, no code years ago. And so it was very familiar, it was a little different paradigm, but it was very familiar to me. And that's part of why I liked it so quick, because I was able to think that way. And so it was really powerful. I think a lot of those no code, low code get a bad rep. I'm not saying it applies it can cover everything, but any developer who's done, spent years doing the same thing over and over and over again, right? If we're developers and we say you should dry your code and don't repeat yourself, at some point, do you need to keep writing those functions? Do you need to keep debugging because you missed a semicolon when you can just pull in a block, write in your text speech and be done, and not have to worry about all the headaches of, I just wanted to compile because I just wanted to edit text, but I didn't know what I did. So I actually think that, just like it's good to learn math first before a calculator, it's probably good to learn the code in a lot of ways, but I think there's real value in those no and low code environments, and they shouldn't all be thought of as something, below coding.
Yeah, no, I'm all for using the framework, the library, or the tool that's going to help you to get the job done. So very much so. So you mentioned, did you say Ernst & Young that you used to work at?
Yeah, my career started at Anderson Consulting, that became Accenture, and then Ernst & Young.
All right. So my very first job out of college was Arthur Anderson.
Yeah, so I went to that trade. Did you go to the training in St. Charles?
I didn't, because actually I was in what was the tax technology division.
Okay.
And so we were going to write international tax software. That was my first job out of college. Graduated in Utah from BYU, and took my first job in Chicago. And so like big six accounting firms were like really big places to land jobs at when I was graduating from college. So interesting.
I think that's the part that I guess is no longer in existence, actually, right?
Yeah,
Enron, post Enron.
Oh, don't say that.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because I was only at that job for 6 months. It was my first job out of college, and it lasted 6 months. And what happened is that when we moved out, it was just my wife and I, and we're newly married, and we moved out to Chicago, intending on being there for 5-6 years, something like that. Whatever we were thinking about doing, just kind of our own little adventure. And the first week that I started work, they had a big announcement that Arthur Anderson wasn't renewing one of their buildings, the lease on the building down in the Loop. And now that's a big deal. It's like, what? You're giving up prime real estate space. And so then it came out a little bit later, over this 6-month process, that they were going to move a portion of employees down to Sarasota, Florida. And then it turned out that it was going to be my team and a few other teams, and they were nice and flew us down there for kind of a tour. But I'm coming from the west, southwest, to Chicago already, to the Midwest, and then they're moving us to the southeast.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not where I was originally planning on going. That's and there were a bunch of different things involved with it. They were going to adjust my salary down to meet the cost of living in Florida, but it didn't seem like it was necessarily significantly. I was already struggling, supporting myself on a starting salary. So it turned out that I had to look for another job. And I did. I found something else in the Chicago area and ended up staying for another like year and a half. But
now I just moved to Chicago a year and a half ago. So
that's so funny. So we both started off with some flavor of Anderson. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So tell me what's going on recently. Do you have some big news, some stuff that happened at the Voice Summit conference here last month? So tell me what happened with VoicePT.
Well, first I'll just give a little background just for people that don't know about it before I get to the good news part. But Amazon recently hosted an Alexa Skills Challenge focused on aging and engaging to help encourage developers, entrepreneurs to build more Alexa skills for older adults.
And once again, that's Heidi was involved with that.
Yeah, Heidi, as far as I know, led that, and I know you were one of the judges. And so there was $45,000 in prizes. There were, I think, 5 category prizes, 4 runner-ups, and then a grand prize. And so we submitted under the Keep Moving category. There was also Stay Sharp, Be Supported, and Let's Connect. And then there was the multi-modal bonus category, I believe, if I got all those categories right there.
Yeah, no, that sounds right.
Yeah, so it was a great set of variety of different experiences and, focused on different areas. So it wasn't just some kind of random assortment, it was really,
Keep Moving sounds like that was a perfect category for VoicePT.
Yeah, and so it just happened to come along at the right time. We were getting close to putting the skill out on the store. And that was part of the requirement is you had to have either been, published for the first time or have had a significant update, I think, during that window of time. And so it just worked out really well for us timing wise. So we entered under the Keep Moving category, and we're lucky enough to be selected as one of the runner-ups for the grand prize. So that was really exciting. And then we're also just to give a quick shout out to the people who also won the Keep Moving, which was a senior stretch. And then there was the, I think it's called, oh gosh, I'm forgetting the other one, so I feel bad now, but another one about memories. And so there was 2 of those people are actually starting to talk about maybe helping with our VoicePT skills. So it was, I'm excited for them. And and so, it's been great, not only the event itself and the exposure we got, but then the people we've gotten to meet through it and to put all our brains together to try to see if we can come up with something. So, so it was a really good opportunity. It gave us some exposure, gave us some validation, some money. It was a great experience.
So excellent. So, is VoicePT out in the skills store now? Is it kind of like a soft launch? Where is it something that I guess talk about if it's available? And then I'm also curious about the website piece. Is that something where doctors would put exercises in, or is that where like me, somebody that's going through PT would put in my own exercises in there? Kind of help me understand that side of it.
Yeah, so the on the website, the idea is, back up for the store, it is out there. It's really more of a demo version. That's out there, and it also allows us to beta test. So if someone has a code that we give them, they can pull up their own program as a beta tester. Otherwise, but anyone watching could go out and look for the VoicePT skill and load it up and try to just say no if it asks if you have a program code, and they can try out the demo, and so they can actually see what the experience is like. So we wanted that out there so that we could, people that were just trying to explain to them what it is, but don't have a particular physical therapy to do, or or want to learn what it's like first before, setting up, they can go try it. And of course, we wanted to get it out there for the competition. So we put a demo version out there of seven exercises to give people a feel for it. And then, like I said, if they have a code, they can get their beta testing. And then the goal, though, is to, and one of the reasons I attended your great HIPAA presentation about building Alexa skills that are HIPAA compliant, is down the road, we do want to make our skill become HIPAA compliant and be able to support, like you're talking about with the doctors and physical therapists, to be able to enter it. So currently we can enter it from a beta testing standpoint, but it's not considered prescribed exercises. We're not tracking patient data. There's a whole lot we're not doing yet because we don't want to cross over that HIPAA wall. And so mostly what's out there is more of a beta test functionality, trying to, just work out a lot of the usability kinks and proof of concept, and just see if some of our testers will use it without tracking, personal health information and requiring all that is involved in your new video the video that just came out from your talk at Voice Summit. So that's our goal. So the aim is that the website that we're building would be where doctors and physical therapists, at the moment, we don't necessarily plan like you would go in and enter that, but that it would be eventually it would be a HIPAA compliant on the web and on Alexa, and that your doctor or physical therapist would prescribe you your particular exercises, and you would be able to pull it up on your device and do it hands-free, voice activated, without any paper, without it's more accessible. A lot of times people get paper, that doesn't work very well for the blind, or even people with vision issues, right? Just reading the small text and the small image
while you're trying to do the exercise and trying to figure it
out. And mobility issues. There's web apps, there's mobile apps, out there, but that requires a certain ability, dexterity and mobility to be able to use that. So we're trying to build it where someone could just say, like I would just say, Alexa, start my physical therapy, and it would just start. And so they don't have to, if they're, whatever their challenge is that prevents them from being able to use a mobile app, or to have to get up out, to move, they don't have to do any of that. So those are the areas we're focusing on.
Well, it seems like if the website is kind of driven from the physical therapist perspective, then it's also a great tool where it's reporting. It's like, oh, this person did these exercises, and there could be analytics as they've gone through each exercise and through each rep of the exercise. There could even be like a point where you ask for feedback, and so there could be some sort of a voice note, or at least something that happens that then the physical therapist could go back and look and say, hey, it looks like you're doing these screens, or these different therapies. I can see because you've gone through each of these different screens and stuff, and so seems like it could be a kind of a reporting tool back as well, kind of a
absolutely like the tool that I use through my current physical therapy place. I didn't put it all into my system, but the tool that they currently use, they do have a web app. You can watch some videos. The videos show you how to do it, but they don't walk you through all the exercises. But then they want you to self-report and go in and fill in, I did 5 of these and 10 of these or 2 of these. And given how often people, I'm sure some do it, but considering how few people even do their physical therapy, and then the ones that are doing it, are probably just getting through it. And they're not, from what I've seen, the physical therapists aren't used. It technically has that reporting ability, but they're not using it. I'm sure some are, but in general, I haven't seen people using it because it requires the patient to have to go in and enter that in the first place.
Right.
Whereas our goal is that it would just self-report on your progress every day. And so it's, I like that old saying of the best interface is no interface, or at least sometimes, right? And so no one has to enter it. They just do their exercise. When they're done, they say stop, and it will eventually report that out. And then your therapist would be able to see what exercises you did, how long you're doing it, which ones you're doing, which ones you're skipping. Like, maybe you always avoid this particular one. Those kind of analytics that you're just going to have a hard time getting real accurate data out of people self-reporting that, we believe.
Yeah, so that's good. Let's talk monetization. So is the idea then that this would be a monthly subscription that the physical therapist or the doctor would pay for, and the skill in essence would be free for the patients?
Yeah, I mean, we are still figuring out some of our next steps is the business model, but yes, that is an existing business model. So, for example, like I said, the place I go for physical therapy and a lot of our beta patients who are doing physical therapy in other places, there is software out there that these companies are using. They just have, again, it's often just to print a PDF out or to give you some like website. And so there's that model. We're also looking into other ways that there might be organizations or places that want to help provide these apps. Like if you have arthritis or you have certain common chronic conditions, there may be some of these associations or other places that want to help provide these tools out there so that, especially again, with certain people, with disabilities that maybe the current systems don't support, there may be some possibility of those organizations providing these tools for common sets of exercises. Those may not be prescribed to every individual, but it might be, if you have arthritis, here are hand exercises, or here are, if you have this kind of condition, here are certain exercises.
This exercise routine is sponsored by, such and such. And so then in essence, they would pay to target and help the people that would fit in that particular group.
Yeah,
right?
and we may look at, there is obviously still, there's another option is where the consumer would pay and do it through a subscription model through Amazon. So we're certainly looking at that as well.
Okay. Well, we only have a few more minutes to wrap up, but a couple, just kind of like a quick 1 minute each.
Sure.
Something that you are really excited about that you did kind of from a developer or like code feature perspective, and something that was a big challenge. So something that was really exciting and something that was challenging.
I think I guess at first what comes to mind is the challenges. There's the beta testing process had some issues we ran into sharing it with people. That's part of what we just ended up publishing a little earlier than planned. And also, and I know you deal with APL a lot, so we're still learning how to really make the screens look good on every possible device that Alexa is supported on. So we got that pretty well, and there's some things, and luckily because I'm a Alexa addict that I have it all throughout my house. I have almost every device, not quite, but I have most of them out there. So I'm my own little test bed, and try all that. So that's been a bit of a challenge. I think the biggest thing I was proud of was going from that hard-coded, just in voice flow to building that whole backend so that we really could go beyond just being for me or taking a really long time to put exercises in, right? It really has opened us up to getting someone's exercises. It doesn't have to be a developer even to put it in. We've got other people on our team that can enter those exercises, assign someone a code, and they could go on. And so that has really opened up for us to get ready for the beta because it's much more flexible now.
So actually adding a content management system onto your voice application.
Yeah, has made the tool itself more powerful. Even though the skill itself in some ways looks the same, it's made it much more powerful.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. Thank you for sharing those parts.
Thanks.
I guess any last words you want to share?
It's been a great experience. I mean, it's been a long road getting here and a long road ahead. But I am for those that are building skills out there, I guess I want to say, I believe in the future of the Alexa platform. That's part of why we picked it over focusing on mobile apps. And I think that there's so much more that these voice first, Alexa devices can provide as an experience that it's not, some people just think, oh, it's just another way to do it. But really it opens up a whole new, set of features that we can do. And so I think that what I'd encourage people to do when they're building their skills is to figure out, how can you do something on Alexa that couldn't be done any other way. And those are the things I think will be really successful in the long run, because they really change the game. If I can do it on my phone, I probably will do it on my phone. But if I can, with this, I can do it on my 75-inch TV in my living room with just my voice. And that is just, with my exercise mat out there. And so it really changes the experience.
It does. It changes it significantly.
Yeah. And so that's, yeah.
Well, good. No, thanks for sharing that. So I appreciate those that have tuned into this episode of the podcast. It was really great, Brett, having you on. And if people want to give feedback, they can contact me as normal, mostly on Twitter at Mark Tucker. What's a good way to contact you, Brett?
Well, we have our VoicePT website if they want to learn more. There's also out there on the Dev Post Hackathon, we have a lot of information out there. And then also I'm available at Brett with 2 T's at voicept.com. So people can reach out that. I'm also on Twitter, LinkedIn, other platforms as just Brett Adler.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to feedback on this episode or on any episode of Two Voice Devs. And we're hoping that we'll get other participants in that voice challenge to come and talk about their project. I appreciate you, Brett, for being the first. And we'll catch everybody on the future episode of Two Voice Devs. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.